A thin shaft of afternoon sun slanted through the attic's single window, dust motes dancing in its glow. Daniel set the last of the cardboard boxes aside and ran a hand across the top of an old trunk. The latch creaked as he flipped it open. Inside lay a faded shoebox, its lid speckled with age. He lifted it out and settled onto an overturned crate, heart fluttering with idle curiosity. He peeled back the lid and found a stack of photographs, yellowed at the edges, curling like autumn leaves. He fanned them out, one by one, a childhood, birthday, Daniel holding a half-melted ice cream cone, a high school graduation, tassels swinging gently beside his shoulder, a summer road trip, wind tousling his hair as he laughed at something just out of frame. In each picture, a figure hovered nearby, a boy with warm brown eyes and an easy grin. Always just behind Daniel, always looking not at the camera, but at him. Daniel's brow furrowed. He knew the face in front, his own at different ages, but the other was a stranger. "Who are you?" he whispered to the silent attic air. He flipped to the next photo. The stranger leaned in, arm draped casually around Daniel's shoulder, as if they'd been best friends. He sank back against the crate, pulse quickening. He couldn't remember this boy, couldn't recall how they knew each other or what that closeness felt like. His mind raced. Had it been an imaginary companion he'd long since shed? But these photos, they were real. Daniel slid the shoebox into his lap and stared hard at the smiling stranger. For a moment, the attic grew colder. The motes of dust froze in place. He glanced toward the window, half expecting to see the boy there, watching him. Gathering the photos, Daniel rose unsteadily. He tucked the shoebox under his arm and descended the attic stairs, each creak echoing in his chest. Below, the rest of his life waited. Friends, family, memories he trusted. Yet now he carried this weight of unanswered questions. And somewhere in the house, a name tugged at the edge of his mind, whispering to be remembered. Daniel settled at the kitchen table, the shoebox of photographs spread before him like a silent accusation. Daylight streamed through the window, but he felt a chill creep up his spine. He picked up a photo from his 10th birthday. Balloons bobbing. Overhead, a chocolate cake smeared across his face. And the boy, arms folded behind his back, studying Daniel with an almost knowing expression. He turned the photo over. No name, no date, just the stutter of pencil on glossy paper. He flipped through more. Family picnic. Daniel balanced on a picnic table, laughing as the stranger held his sandwich out of reach. High school prom. The stranger stood just beyond Daniel's date, eyes trained on Daniel, lips curved in that same easy grin. College graduation. Caps flew, and the stranger stood alone behind Daniel's row, cap askew, hand raised in celebration. Only Daniel seemed to notice. Daniel's pulse pounded. He rifled through drawers for yearbooks, thumbed through annotated class photos. Nothing. He called his mother, her voice warm but confused. "Mom, do you remember a boy named, I don't know, Eli?" "He's in all my photos," she frowned. "There was no Eli, Daniel. We took so many pictures. If there was someone else, I'd remember." Next, he messaged his old friend, Claire. They'd swapped every photo from high school. Claire opened each file, squinting at the smiling boy. "Who is that?" she typed. "Never seen him before." When the phone went silent, Daniel stared at the last image, a faded snapshot of his 16th birthday. The stranger's hand rested on Daniel's shoulder, thumb pressed gently into his shirt. Daniel could almost feel the weight. He placed the photo on the table and leaned closer. The stranger's gaze held a curious intensity, as if he were searching Daniel's face for something long buried. Daniel pressed his palm to the table, heart aching. No name. No memory. He gathered the shoebox and rose. In the hallway mirror, he caught his reflection, eyes wide, hair mussed, expression haunted. He sank onto the sofa, cradling the box in his lap as if it were a fragile secret. A question throbbed in his mind. Why was this boy always looking at him? And why could no one else remember him? The afternoon sun dipped lower, shadows lengthening. On the floor, Daniel opened a photo again, fingertip brushing the stranger's faint smile. And in that moment, he vowed to uncover the truth behind the silent companion who haunted every frame of his life. That night, Daniel slept fitfully. Moonlight spilled through his curtains in silver stripes, illuminating the shoebox on his nightstand. He closed his eyes, but images swirled behind his eyelids. Faces, laughter, whispered secrets. He jolted, awake at the sound of his own name, soft and urgent. In the darkness, he sat up, heart hammering. "Eli," he whispered into the empty room. Memories flooded back in vivid rushes. A sunlit afternoon in the backyard, where Daniel and the stranger sat beneath a maple tree, trading secrets in hushed voices. The stranger's laughter as Daniel scaled, the tree's low branch, promising to catch him if he fell. A shared ice cream cone at the corner shop, the stranger offering Daniel the last bite. Rain-soaked afternoons racing through sprinklers, water glinting on their faces as they chased each other across the lawn. Each scene played out like a film. Daniel felt the thrill of youth, the warmth of companionship. But with each flash, a jarring realization, none of it fit into his known past. He bolted upright and scrambled for his laptop. Hands trembling, he opened a blank document and wrote 2 words at the top: Eli Memories. He closed his eyes again, hoping to capture every detail. Slowly the dreams yielded more. The secret hideout. A makeshift fort built from couch cushions and blankets, tucked into a corner of the living room. Inside, the stranger and Daniel had sworn an oath of friendship, carving their initials into the wooden armrest. The birthday promise. On Daniel's 12th birthday, they'd watched fireworks from the rooftop. The stranger had pointed to the highest burst and said, "That one's for you. I'll always be here." The farewell. A grey afternoon, the stranger standing at the end of the driveway, backpack slung over one shoulder, boarding a bus labelled New Beginnings. Daniel remembered the hollow ache in his chest as the stranger waved goodbye. Daniel's breath quickened. He searched his memory for any hint of a day the stranger might have left, but the rest of his mind was silent, empty. He reread his notes, fingertips tracing the words. How could memories so real have no place in his life? He shivered, though the night was warm. The next morning, Daniel taped his typed memories to the fridge, alongside a grocery list and a photo of his mother on her wedding day. Each scrap of paper felt like a piece of a puzzle he didn't know how to solve. At breakfast, he stared at the notes. Spoon struck his cereal bowl with a hollow clang. His phone buzzed. A news alert, traffic update, mundane details of a life fully remembered. He slid the phone away and reached for the memoranda instead. Did he dare believe in these memories? Or were they a trick of a mind under stress? He glanced at the fridge door, the words California, age 12, and fireworks promise smudged slightly at the edges. A sudden knock at the door startled him. "Delivery for Daniel Reed," called a voice from outside. Daniel froze, then rose. He opened the door to find a small package, no return address. Inside lay a single photograph, glossy and new. Daniel smiling on that rooftop, fireworks bursting overhead, and beside him, the familiar stranger, arm around Daniel's shoulder, eyes shining with that same knowing grin. Daniel stared at the photo, pulse racing. Someone must know Eli, but who and why send this nows? He turned the photo in his fingers. The stranger's gaze met his. It felt alive, expectant, as if the boy in the picture waited for Daniel to remember. Daniel slipped the photo into his pocket, heart resolute. He would chase these memories, no matter where they led. Daniel spent the next morning digging through his parents' old storage boxes in the garage. He unearthed dusty binders of schoolwork, crumbling notebooks, and a stack of VHS tapes, labeled in his mother's looping handwriting. One tape caught his eye. Elementary Memories. He carried the tape and an old VCR into the living room, dusting off the screen before loading it in. The television flickered to life in grainy black and white. The first scenes were familiar. 6-year-old Daniel and his classmates on the playground, laughing as they chased one another. Then it shifted to a classroom project, a large trifold science display titled Our Solar System. Daniel stood proudly in front, pointing at hand-drawn planets. And there, at his side, was the stranger, same warm eyes, same easy grin. But when other children approached, the stranger would disappear from the frame, shuffling just out of view when Mrs. Harper spoke, vanishing completely whenever someone else stepped into shot. The tape cut between angles, but every time Daniel was alone on screen, the stranger reappeared, studying him with that quiet intensity. Daniel's throat went dry. He pressed pause and rewound the tape, watching frame by frame. His fingers found the edge of the VHS, rough, scratched. He pressed play again. The stranger blinked, and for a split second, the image warped. His form flickered like a broken hologram. A chill crept over Daniel. He shut off the TV and sank to the floor, the VCR's final hum echoing in his ears. The memory of that tape, he'd watched home videos countless times, but never noticed this boy. How could he have missed him? Next, Daniel retrieved his old sketchbook from college, flipping to a page titled The Best Friend. Drawn in fine pencil were two figures beneath a willow tree, one unmistakably him, the other matching the stranger's face. In the margin, a note in his own handwriting read, Eli's favorite spot. He stared at the word, Eli, a name emerging from the shadows of his past. He whispered it aloud and felt a tremor in his voice. As evening fell, Daniel reviewed everything on his desk, the photos, the notes, the tape, the sketchbook. They all pointed to one truth. This boy had been real for him, but unreal for everyone else. Doubt clawed at his mind. Was he losing his grip on reality? He closed his eyes and pictured the stranger's face. The same image flashed behind his lids. The boy, always watching, always waiting. Daniel pressed his palms to his temples and exhaled. Reality or illusion? He needed answers. The next day, he decided, he would return to his childhood home, stand beneath the maple tree, and see if any trace of Eli remained. The house settled around him, the night quiet, except for the ticking clock. Daniel gathered the photographs into the shoebox once more and lay down, staring at the ceiling. In the darkness, the stranger's final words from the tape echoed in Daniel's mind. Remember me. Daniel drove out of the city the next morning, the shoebox resting in the passenger seat. He passed the familiar landmarks of his childhood, the red brick elementary school, the corner ice cream shop, the faded mural on the community center. His heart pounded as he turned onto his old street, where the trees arched overhead like a cathedral. At number 14, the house stood quiet and still, paint peeling at the shutters. Daniel climbed the steps and paused on the front porch. He touched the worn railing, its grains smooth from years of little hands. Across the yard, the maple tree where he and Eli once played spread its branches wide. He stepped down and approached, feet crunching on gravel. Under the tree's dappled shade, the air felt charged. Daniel set the shoebox on the grass and sank to his knees. He opened it, fingers trembling, and laid out the photos beside him. Sunlight flickered through the leaves, illuminating the faces frozen in time. "Eli," Daniel whispered. His voice was swallowed by the breeze. He closed his eyes, bracing himself for something. A sudden rustle above made him look up. There, leaning against the trunk, was the boy from the photographs, unchanged. Eli's brown eyes were calm, his grin easy. He wore a simple shirt and jeans as if he had stepped out of a memory rather than through time. "Daniel," Eli said, voice soft. "You remembered." Daniel's jaw went slack. You're real." His words trembled. He rose slowly, heart racing. "But how?" Eli brushed a hand across the bark. "I was always here. You just forgot." Daniel's legs felt unsteady. Images flashed through his mind, childhood laughter, secret thoughts, that tearful goodbye at the driveway. He swallowed hard. "Why did you come back now?" Eli smiled gently. "Because you needed me." Daniel's throat tightened. "I don't need an imaginary friend." His voice wavered between anger and relief. "I need answers." Eli nodded. "I can give them." He stepped closer, and the air seemed to shimmer around him. "You and I share something deeper than memory. When you were lonely, you gave me form. As you grew, you forgot, but I stayed, caught between what is real and what you imagined." Daniel clenched his fists. "Everyone else forgot you. Why haven't I?" "Because I'm part of you." Eli's gaze was steady. "Your heart left a footprint here." He pointed at the ground between them. "This tree, our fort, your promise, they anchored me." Daniel looked around. In the grass, he thought he saw faint impressions of tiny feet, indentations too perfect for mere roots. He knelt and pressed, his palm to the earth. A warmth pulsed beneath his hand. Eli continued, "I watched you grow. I kept your secrets, shared your joys, bore your fears, but as you moved on, you locked me away." His eyes glinted. "Now you have a choice." Daniel rose, heart pounding. "What choice?" Eli stepped back beneath the dappled light. "You can let me go, becoming a memory once more, or you can let me stay, as you did long ago." His voice softened, almost pleading. "I don't want to be forgotten again." Daniel swallowed. The weight of years pressed on him. Childhood loneliness, the ache of not belonging, the comfort of an unseen companion. He glanced at the shoebox photos, at Eli's hopeful face in each frame. The wind whispered through the leaves, carrying a scent of rain. Daniel took a slow breath. "You were my friend," he said, voice quiet. "And I... forgotten." He met Eli's gaze. "I'm sorry." Eli's smile faltered, then brightened. "That's enough for me." Daniel stepped forward and placed a hand on Eli's shoulder. Under his touch, Eli's form flickered as if made of molten light. The world blurred at the edges. For a moment, Daniel felt their bond, the laughter, the secrets, the unspoken promise flow through him. Then Eli's form steadied, becoming solid again. Daniel's breath caught. The boy looked at him with tears shining in his eyes. "Thank you," he whispered. Daniel nodded. You can stay, but we'll face this together." Eli's grin returned, warm, full of relief. He reached out and took Daniel's hand. As they stood beneath the maple, two figures reunited. The leaves above whispered in applause, and for the first time in years, Daniel felt whole. That evening, Daniel and Eli returned to Daniel's apartment. The streets were quiet now, lamplights painting golden halos on the pavement. Eli walked beside Daniel, hands tucked into his pockets, gaze thoughtful. Inside, Daniel gathered the photographs, dreams notes, and childhood keepsakes onto the coffee table. He brewed 2 mugs of tea, the steam curling like gentle question marks between them. Eli's presence filled the room with a soft warmth, yet an undercurrent of tension pulsed beneath the surface. Daniel cleared his throat. "I need to understand everything. Who or what are you?" Eli lifted one of the birthday photos, tracing the stranger's outline with his fingertip. "I am you, yet not you. I am the echo of your heart when it longed for companionship." He handed the photo back. "When you were small and lonely, you imagined me into being your friend, your confidant." Daniel watched the steam rising from his tea. "But I wasn't lonely," he protested softly. "I had friends, family." Eli's eyes softened. "Loneliness isn't always about the absence of people. It's the absence of someone who knows you deeper than surface smiles. You created me from your unspoken feelings." Daniel closed his eyes and remembered the maple tree fort, the whispered secrets, the fireworks promise. Every memory felt real, vivid, aching. He reopened his eyes. "Why did I forget you?" Eli set the photo down gently. "Because growing up meant fitting in. Memories that didn't align with the world faded to shadows. I became one of those shadows." Daniel's voice trembled. "And that VHS tape. Why did you glitch when others appeared?" Eli glanced at the dusty VCR. "Every time someone else entered the scene, your conscious mind filtered me out. I existed only within your personal frame, your private reality." Silence settled between them, punctuated by the ticking clock. Daniel traced the rim of his mug. "But now you're here." Eli leaned forward. "Yes, you remembered. Your heart called me back." He took a steadying breath. "I am real as long as you believe. If you choose to keep me, I can stay. If you let go..." His voice broke slightly. "I fade away." Daniel placed his mug on the table and stood, pacing in small circles. "I'm not a child anymore," he said quietly. "I can't keep living this double life, with memories no one else shares." Eli rose too, eyes glinting. "You don't have to hide anymore. Let me help you carry your past, your strengths, your fears. They're ours together." Daniel halted by the window, looking out at the city lights. He felt the weight of years pressing on him, the ache of forgotten laughter, the relief, a friend's hand in his own. "I'm scared," he admitted. "Scared of what people will think, scared of feeling lonely again if you go." Eli stepped beside him, his presence calm and reassuring. "You won't be alone. I am you, your heart, your memory. Let's face the world together." Daniel turned and met Eli's gaze. In the reflection of the glass, 2 figures stood side by side, one tangible, one ephemeral, both equally real in that moment. Daniel's breath stilled. He nodded slowly. "All right, let's face it, together." Eli's relief shone in his eyes. He reached out and squeezed Daniel's shoulder. "Thank you." Daniel managed a small smile. Thank you for waiting." Beneath the soft glow of the lamp, man and memory sat side by side. And for the first time, Daniel felt that every fragment of his past, no matter how strange or hidden, belonged to him and to Eli. That night, Daniel sat at his desk, Eli beside him. Moonlight draped over scattered photos and notebooks. Eli traced a finger along Daniel's pencil sketch of their childhood fort. Silence stretched between them, weighted with possibility. Finally, Eli spoke softly. "Daniel, tomorrow I will cross back into memory if you wish. I could stay, become part of your waking life again, or you can let me go where I belong." Daniel closed his eyes, feeling the steady rise and fall of his friend's breath. He remembered the warmth of children's laughter, the comfort of shared secrets, and the ache of lonely nights. "If you stay," he whispered, "I'll need you to help me be strong. Help me face people who will never know you." Eli nodded. "I will be your strength." Daniel looked at the framed photos on the wall. Birthdays, vacations, everyday moments, all joined by Eli's silent presence. He took a steadying breath. "I choose to let you stay, but only if you promise never to be just a shadow again." Eli's smile was radiant. "I promise." They clasped hands, a pact forged between memory and reality. Weeks later, Daniel hosted a small gathering in his apartment. Friends, family, colleagues. He moved through conversations with newfound confidence, while Eli stood quietly at his side, a steady presence. No one questioned the boy who lingered just out of direct sight. Daniel's calm assurance spoke volumes. Later, alone, Daniel opened the shoebox one last time. He lifted the final photo, himself standing beneath the maple tree with Eli's hand resting on his shoulder. Only Daniel remained in the frame now, but he could feel Eli's warmth behind him. Daniel smiled and whispered, "Thank you, friend." And in the soft hush of the evening, he felt, finally, whole.